Warning, this video does contain constant stuttering, so viewer discretion is advised. Before the video starts, I just want to say that subtitles are available, so if I misspell or mispronounce a word, make sure you have subtitles on just in case. Also, be sure to follow me on my socials, which will be linked in the description below. Thanks for listening and enjoy this video.
Michael Jackson. His new album, Invincible. Order Michael Jackson's Invincible now and get a free poster. Order Michael Jackson's Invincible. Call now.
On October 30th, 2001, Michael Jackson released his 10th and final studio album, Invincible. The album was Michael Jackson's most experimental project, an attempt to adapt to the new sound of the millennium. Marked by a fusion of R&B, pop, and soul, Invincible was a musical journey that explored themes ranging from love and romance to media judgment and social issues. It was considered as Jackson's attempt for a career comeback, a beacon of hope and anticipation for fans awaiting new material after a 4-year hiatus. Jackson started the multi-genre production in 1997, but did not finish until September 2001, which caused a brief delay in the album's release. It was reported that it cost $30 million to record, making it the most expensive album ever. But unfortunately, the album was promoted poorly and received mixed reviews from critics. While some called it a brilliant piece of work, others described the album as having no virtual twists and being too long. As a result, the album flopped in Michael's standards. So, what happened? Why did the album fail to reach the same success as his previous works? Was it a result of his controversial battle with Sony, as their business choices regarding Jackson's contract were widely debated? Or did Michael Jackson's artistic ego and double-edged sword of creativity and self-assurance sabotage the album's potential? Welcome back to the channel. My name is The Horseman. Today we will discuss Michael Jackson's most experimental, yet most underrated project in his catalog, and why it initially failed. Before we begin, I post video essays every other Monday and music videos every Friday. If you would like to keep updated on the latest news regarding Michael Jackson or informed on lesser-known topics, be sure to subscribe if you're new and ring the bell icon so you won't miss my latest videos. Michael Jackson began recording new material for Invincible in October 1997 and finished with You Are My Life being recorded only 8 weeks before the album's release in October 2001, the most extensive recording of Jackson's career. The album features appearances from Carlos Santana in Whatever Happens, the Guns N' Roses Slash in Privacy, and a posthumous appearance from the Notorious B.I.G. in Unbreakable. Jackson has shown interest in including a rapper on at least one song and had noted that he did not want a known rapper. Jackson's spokesperson suggested a New Jersey rapper named Fats, in which he was featured on Heartbreaker and the title track. Jackson received credit for both writing and producing a majority of the songs on Invincible. Aside from Jackson, the album featured productions by many producers such as Rodney Jerkins, Teddy Riley, Andre Harris, Fanatic, Babyface, The Disgraceful Bastard, Robert Kelly, and Dr. Freeze, along with writing credits from The Disgraceful Bastard, Kelly, Fred Jerkins III, LaShawn Daniels, Nora Payne, and Robert Smith. Invincible was dedicated to a 15-year-old Afro-Norwegian boy named Benjamin Hermansen, who was stabbed to death by a group of neo-Nazis in Oslo, Norway, in January 2001. This tribute was partly because another Oslo youth, Omar Badi, Jackson's friend, was also a good friend of Hermansen. The dedication of the album reads, "Michael Jackson gives special thanks. This album is dedicated to Benjamin Benny Hermansen. May we continue to remember not to judge a man by the color of his skin, but the content of his character. Benjamin, we love you, and may you rest in peace." The album's length is over 77 minutes long. It contains 16 songs, 15 of which were written or co-written by Jackson. It was noted that the album shifts between aggressive songs and ballads, as indicated in his previous works such as Dangerous and History. The album spawned 3 official singles, You Rock My World, Cry, and Butterflies, and a promotional single in South Korea, Speechless, although all were given limited releases due to poor marketing, but I'll get into that in a bit. You Rock My World was only released to radio airplay in the United States, consequently only peaking at number 10 in the Billboard Hot 100. Internationally, where it was released as a single, it peaked at number 1 in France, number 2 in Norway, Finland, Denmark, Belgium, and the UK, number 3 in Italy, number 4 in Australia, and number 5 in Sweden and Switzerland. The second single, Cry, was not released in the United States, as it was only moderately successful, with the song's most successful territories being Spain, Denmark, France, and Belgium, charting at number 6, 17, 30, and 31. The song Cry, reminiscent of Jackson's iconic Man in the Mirror, advocates for healing the world collectively, with the lyrics resonating a message of unity. However, songs like Butterflies and Break of Dawn face criticism for their simplicity, with some suggesting that they could have been composed by anyone. The album's third single, Butterflies, was only released in the United States to radio airplay. It peaked at number 14 on the Billboard Hot 100 and number 2 for 5 weeks on the Hot R&B Hip-Hop Singles charts. Heaven Can Wait also charted at the bottom of the R&B hip-hop charts at number 72 due to radio airplay without an official release, and unfortunately the song did not chart internationally. Unbreakable, however, was initially supposed to be released as a single, but was ultimately cancelled. Despite that, the song managed to chart inside the Romanian Top 100 chart, peaking at number 62. It was later included in the Ultimate Collection box set in 2004. It was reported that the album had a budget of $25 million set aside for promotion. Despite this, however, due to conflicts between Jackson and his record label, little was done to promote the album. Unlike Jackson's post-Thriller studio albums Bad, Dangerous, and History, there was no world tour to promote the album. A time was planned but was canceled due to conflicts between Jackson and Sony, and Jackson's refusal to organize a time in order to focus more on his well-being. There was, however, a special 30th anniversary celebration at Madison Square Garden in early September 2001 to mark 30 years of Michael Jackson being a solo artist. During the two concerts, Michael Jackson performed You Rock My World for the first and only time, the only song from Invincible in which Michael performed live. The album's promotional efforts encountered significant obstacles due to the internal disputes between Michael Jackson and Sony Music Entertainment, stemming from his ownership stake in the company and the contractual agreement signed in 1991. The trouble began to brew during the production of Invincible, when Jackson discovered that the rights to the masters of his previous releases, initially slated to revert to him in the early 2000s, would be delayed until much later in the decade. This revelation led him to seek counsel from the lawyer involved in the 1991 deal, only to discover that the same lawyer also represented Sony, thus revealing an undisclosed conflict of interest. Reluctant to relinquish his ownership in Sony Music Entertainment, Jackson decided to sever ties with the company shortly after the album's release. Following this announcement, Sony abruptly halted the promotional activities for Invincible, scrapping planned singles releases including What More Can I Give, a 9/11 charity single that had been intended for release before the album's launch. In July 2002, after Sony Music's abrupt cessation of promotional efforts for the album, Michael Jackson made damning allegations against Sony Music CEO Tommy Mottola, branding him as a devil and a racist who exploited African American artists solely for personal profit. Jackson accused Sony and the entire record industry of racial bias, asserting that they deliberately hindered the promotion of his album. Sony countered these claims, contending that they had adequately promoted Invincible, citing Jackson's refusal to tour in the United States as a contributing factor.
You know, being the artist that I am at Sony, I've generated several $1 billion for Sony, several billion. And they really thought that my mind is always on music and dancing, and it usually is, but they never thought that this performer, myself, would outthink them. So I own half of Sony's publishing, and and I'm leaving them, and they're very angry at me because of it. But I just did good business, you know. So the way they get revenge is to try and destroy my album. And Tommy Mottola is a devil.
Respect!
This is very important because throughout the years, black artists have been taken advantage of completely. And it's time now that we have to put a stop to this incredible, incredible injustice. And like Mrs. Sharpton was saying, people from James Brown to Sammy Davis Jr., some of the real pioneers that inspired me to be the entertainer that I am. These artists are always on tour because if they stopped touring, they would totally go broken. And it's been, the record companies really, really do conspire against their artists. They steal, they cheat, they do whatever they can, especially the black artists.
Invincible garnered a mix of reviews from critics. On Metacritic, the album received a modest score of 51 out of 100 based on 19 reviews. Some critics felt the album lacked innovation, describing it as a compilation of Jackson's lesser hits, reminiscent of his past work. Others praised specific tracks, notably Whatever Happens, appreciating its intricate rhythms and intelligent composition. However, others criticized the album's length, deeming it overlong and long-winded. Despite the mixed reviews, Invincible succeeded moderately upon its release. In 2002, Michael Jackson earned a Grammy Award nomination for Best Pop Vocal Performance, Male, for the song You Rock My World. However, it lost to James Taylor's Don't Let Me Be Lonely Tonight. The album's release date in October 2001 made it ineligible for other nominations at the 2002 Grammy Awards. Upon its release, however, the album debuted at number 1 in the Billboard 200 charts, selling 363,000 units in the first week, making Invincible Jackson's 5th chart-topping album in the Billboard 200 and the 4th solo album to achieve this feat in its opening week. The following week, however, Invincible slipped to number 3, selling 202,000 copies, indicating a 45% decrease in sales. The album also dominated the Billboard R&B hip hop album charts for 4 consecutive weeks. In the United States, Invincible ranked as the 45th best-selling album of 2001, surpassing 1.56 million units sold. By 2009, the album's sales in the United States had reached 2.4 million copies, which compared to his other albums was a commercial failure.
Love till the break of dawn. I don't want the sun to shine. I wanna be loved. Break of dawn.
Wait, hold it. That's played out.
What you just witnessed could be the end of a particularly terrifying nightmare.
And now for my thoughts. The controversy surrounding Michael Jackson's Invincible album and Sony's handling of its promotion remains a continuous topic within the fan community. Many fans argue that Invincible could have been more successful if Sony hadn't halted its promotional efforts, although the veracity of the claim is debatable. Michael Jackson publicly voiced his grievances against Sony and mainly targeted Mottola, accusing him of racism and branding him as a devil. However, delving into the situation reveals a complex scenario. Invincible was an exceptionally costly project with a production budget of $30 million, making it the most expensive album ever made. Sony had invested heavily in the album, which meant that they needed to regroup all the money before any profits could be realized. The situation was further complicated by Jackson's demands, such as a substantial budget he requested for the music video for Unbreakable and Butterflies, which were to feature Mel Gibson. and his refusal to tour to promote the album. From a business standpoint, Sony's reluctance to continue pouring funds into Invincible, especially given Michael's declining popularity, is understandable. There's also the matter of the album's quality, in which some fans and critics find subpar compared to Michael's previous standards. Despite this, some tracks like You Rock My World and Butterflies charted in the United States through radio airplay alone. However, strategic decisions such as releasing these songs as physical copies were overlooked, which could have significantly boosted the album's sales. While Invincible might have been weaker than his earlier works, there were still several radio-friendly and hit-worthy songs. In my opinion, with more promotion and proper marketing strategies, Invincible could have arguably fared better, dispelling its reputation as a weak album. Sony's decision to cease promotion after Michael announced he wouldn't renew his contract appears personal and unprofessional. The company even pulled his planned performance at the 2002 Grammys, indicating a strained relationship. Moreover, their refusal to allow Michael to promote the album with singles or videos of his choice showcased an exertion of excessive control. Michael's choice to prioritize his mental health and well-being over touring, a decision influenced by past negative experiences and the toll it took on him during the History Tour, is understandable. Despite his struggles, Michael's criticism of Mottola, while seemingly desperate, also sheds light on the exploitation of artists, particularly those of color, in the music industry over the years. Historically, artists of color, women, and other minority groups have faced systemic inequalities, discrimination, and exploitation. Several factors contribute to this problem, such as lack of representation, exploitative contracts, limited access to resources, cultural appropriation, unequal promotion and opportunities, tokenism, and many other factors, but that's a topic for another video. Addressing these issues requires systemic changes within the music industry, including promoting diversity and inclusion, providing education and resources for artists, reevaluating and reforming contract practices, and actively combating racism and discrimination at all levels. It also involves supporting initiatives and organizations that advocate for the rights and fair treatment of artists, especially those from marginalized communities. While the exact reasons for Invincible's relative lack of success are multi-faced, it is, however, a stark reminder of the challenges faced by artists, both creatively and professionally, in the ever-evolving music business landscape. In conclusion, Michael Jackson's Invincible album served as a prodigious example of the challenges artists face, especially those of color, in the music industry. It was Michael Jackson's attempt at making a comeback in the evolving music genre of the millennium, but ultimately flopped due to the lack of promotion on Sony's part. However, several songs from the album, such as You Rock My World, Heaven Can Wait, and Unbreakable, have regained notoriety and a cult following thanks to TikTok. Despite its artistic merit and standout tracks, poor promotion and strategic decisions combined with a strained relationship between Jackson and Sony hindered its potential. Invincible is a stark reminder of the urgent need for change within the music industry.
Great. I love you. Good night.
Well, that's the end of today's video. I hope I was able to keep you guys informed. There were a few details I left out regarding his music due to them being saved as topics for future videos. Be sure to leave a like and comment your thoughts on the Invincible album and which track is your favorite. And don't forget to subscribe if you're new and ring the bell icon so you won't miss my latest videos. Thanks for watching, and I will see you all in the next one.